We're giving up like 6 sacks a game in conference play. We're not going to win this.
No.
Coach Raiola should be fired by the end of the night. Like, I'm not even kidding this time around. This is inexcusable.
And I even tried to give the offensive line a little bit of credit in the second half last week's game because people said I was being too hard on them. And well, it turns out I was right because I also cautioned and said, well, be mindful that we were going against 2 terrible offensive lines. And we didn't, I mean, what Minnesota did today was they did a lot of things that Michigan did on that defensive side of the ball with simulated pressures, a lot of different looks. They're just constantly changing up the looks, and a lot of the things that they did looked a lot of what Michigan did. It looks like they took a lot of that, and it worked, obviously. And that's the recipe that teams are going to continue to use on this team going forward, unless they figure out a way to stop it. And so far, they have not been able to adjust. And I don't know what kind of adjustments you can make to keep your offensive line from getting blown off the ball, but also get your quarterback sometimes just get rid of the ball a little quicker. Like, I mean,
it's definitely goes on the offensive line and on Dylan too. Like, I really think we're a year and a half into his career. He should start processing plays a lot quicker. And
yeah,
he's
we talked about
not.
this. We talked about this last week. How you got guys like Julian Sayin who are going out there and they're making quick reads and stuff like that.
Hell,
what Minnesota did was they made it easy. They made it easy for him. All he had to do was go out there and it was one read, quick slant or whatever. But like they were devising the perfect play. Like that one long drive, that was a perfect drive.
It was beautiful.
And I talked about last week against Maryland, our third down percentage was terrible, and we were going to have to be better on third down this week to win, and we were not. We were atrocious. I think we were 1 for 5 in the first half on third down.
I'm going to pull it up real quick.
And so Minnesota had been bad on third down all year because defense has been putting them in third and long, and then we come out and make them look like a good team. It was it's frustrating to still get out there and lay eggs like this when you have momentum going and you finally have that win to build off of. Like if this was coming off a loss, I'd be like, same old, but you're coming off a momentum building potential win and a lot of the same flaws that we've been talking about all season. And again, this is what I was talking about weeks 2, 3, and 4 when I said this team just isn't getting better where it needs to over the course of the year. And again, it's like the developing of over the course of the season is not there.
They're getting worse.
The offensive line, especially.
Yeah, they're regressing at a rapid rate. Now, when we looked at this season before it started, this stretch, the Maryland-Minnesota stretch, we'd be happy if we split. As the season progresses, you kind of see where you're at. You're 5-1. You got a lot of momentum. I'm more disappointed that it actually split because this was a game.
100%.
The game you're better at.
Now, I knew this was going to be a dogfight. Like my prediction was 28-24, and I said all offseason this game was a 50-50 for me just because it's in Minnesota, and I know how tough they play us, and they get up to play us. And
this is their Super Bowl. Look at their reaction at the end of the game.
Oh yeah, yep. Like they and I don't know what it is about Minnesota fans, but they do not like Nebraska fans for some reason. For me, Minnesota is just another team. Like it's not. There's not like just kind of like Iowa for me. Like Iowa, I grew up in Texas, so I hated Texas, and I hate Iowa by proxy of being a Nebraska fan. That was an acquired hatred. It's I don't hate Minnesota, but for some reason they hate us. I don't understand that.
When my dad and I were there a couple years ago, I mean, I had a good time. Some were super nice. The student section was super rough, which, they were grilling me before the game, which was hilarious. But it's a good environment. It's very hostile. It's not a big stadium, but you get a raucous crowd.
Oh yeah, they get loud.
7:00 kickoff.
They get loud.
It's a tough one. Yes.
And Nebraska just got punched in the mouth and never punched back. And that's the thing. If you get out physical, then this trench play was just from the opening whistle. The trench play was on both sides, not just the offensive line, defensive line. And we've been talking about that same song and dance the entirety of the season. So let's go ahead.
I'll say my notes on the defense for the first possession was mini O-line getting big push early. Tackling continues to be a problem. That was despite them getting a 3-and-out. Like,
Mhm.
I think their first play was like a 5-yard run that should have been a 2-yard run. Their
Yeah.
next play was a 3-yard run that should have been a 1-yard loss. And it's
Well,
just, yeah, we got a 3-and-out, but it just didn't look right from the jump, both
we
sides.
we tackled this game like Minnesota has all season, because Minnesota was the team that had been missing tackles the majority of the season.
Yeah, they're getting 10 missed a game on
And then
average.
they were making open field tackles, and our pursuit angles. I don't know what it is about our run fits, but our second level run fits like are so bad. And then the angles that we were taking, like if we're playing cover one and we just have a safety out there to run fit, like he cannot take that bad of an angle. He's got to make sure that on that long run nobody gets past him. And I don't know what that angle was that he took, but like pursuit angles got to get better. We got to wrap up. Like there's so many things that are just fundamentally wrong that I don't understand why they're still rearing their ugly head. And it's super frustrating because you'll see moments where it looks much better than last season, and then they'll fall into this trap where it's. But I feel like, is it just me, or do I feel like when they fall into this lull, it's like hard for them to get out of it again? It's like I know we're past like the one score, like talking about the one score curse and all that stuff. But like it just feels like sometimes when this team gets in a lull, it's just almost impossible for them to pull themselves out of it. And what was required the last couple weeks? A big special teams play.
Mm-hmm.
What
You
did
didn't
we
get
not
it.
get this week? We didn't get that spark from the special teams. And that's no knocking. I'm not knocking the special teams, but I'm saying somebody else has to step up. And we can't forget that like the last couple weeks, big plays by the special teams are what helped us.
100%.
We don't win those games without a couple of those special teams plays, like that big kick return last week, and then the Michigan State game, of course. What was in the Michigan State game? Was it a block punt?
Block punt for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And I think Ja'Cory had a big return too that game. He had the touchdown that was called back.
Yeah.
But he also had one or two other big returns in that game.
Mm-hmm. And so all Minnesota had to do today was just fundamentals. They just had to be fundamentally sound and not give Nebraska opportunity to get those big explosive plays. And then whenever we had the opportunity to get them, we missed them. And that can't happen, because you score that touchdown, throw that touchdown on that fade to Dane Key, it's a whole different game.
Yeah, or if Hunter doesn't drop that ball.
Yeah.
I mean, the game was starting to get kind of out of reach, but that could have been a momentum play that kind of
But
helps
Dane
you start
Key,
building.
the Dane Key, if we complete that pass right there, because the next play's in a sack, like that's the ball game's completely.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring this up too. On that first red zone possession, or maybe it was the second one actually. They ran a mesh concept, and Dylan was looking kind of center left of the field, and Dane was running right to left. So he was running across his vision, and then I believe it was Barney left to right across his vision. Actually, it was a sack after that incompletion to Dane. And Dane Key eventually crosses the hash and is wide open, and Dylan never saw him.
Yeah.
And that was basically another touchdown we missed.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part, is like when the plays are there, we're not making them. Yeah, I love the flashiness as much as anybody, but the basics got to be there. I love the left-hand throws. I love the improvisation he does, but the basics have to be there. And I don't understand what is causing these overthrows to continue. Last year, I was like, the ball's jumping out of his hands a little bit, putting too much pressure on himself, stuff like that. But you can't always blame everybody else. And those throws have to be made. I mean, if you are a top quarterback in college football and you want to be a top quarterback in college football, you have to hit those wide open throws. And
I feel like he's seeing ghost out there at this point, because he's getting so much pressure every single game, all game long.
100%.
He's hesitant to let it rip. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think I saw a stat from I think it was Carricker that posted it and said that we were sacked on 18% of dropbacks.
Yeah. Well, the last play of the game was a sack, ironically. So that's 9 sacks given up.
9 sacks. That's right.
And so then you add in his left-handed throw, which was basically about to be a sack. It was a miraculous play. Mm-hmm. You add in it would have been the scramble where he threw it back across his body later in the game. That was basically a throwaway. That was about to be a sack. The falling forward, throwing it right before he hit the ground, that was about to be a sack. And then he had another insane play on the drive in which he had the two Mahomey-like plays where he was
Don't
also
call it
almost
that ever
sacked. So
again.
he's
Don't
I didn't know
say
what else
that
to
ever.
call it. But there was at least there should I mean I think they ended up with 15 pressures, if I'm not mistaken.
Which is crazy.
I don't have this
From and it was so simple for them to mix it up. I mean, honestly, it was so simple for them to get the simulated pressure. It was so simple for them to just change the looks very easily. I mean, just to copy and paste what Michigan did, and for us to not be able to kind of figure that out on the defensive side of the ball, it's frustrating because this is a season where you finally think that we're starting to make those coaching adjustments. You come back in the second half of the Maryland game, you're like, okay, this team can, go in the locker room, come out fired up, make those adjustments, and come out in the second half and play better. And then this kind of looked almost like the Indiana game versus a worse Indiana.
The worse Indiana.
Yeah.
So you mentioned coming out of the half, right? Nebraska against Power 4 opponents this year is being outscored in the third quarter 52-7. That's disgusting.
And you can't be a fourth quarter team without playing the third quarter. I'm sorry. Or else you're going to end up like tonight where you're down too far and you can't come back. It's just and it just seems I don't know who has to be the person to get this team to like get fired up and pull their head out of their asses. But we snuck away last week. Cannot forget that. We snuck away last week
Michigan State too
with a win. We snuck away against Michigan State. Luckily, Michigan State was a bad team, but I mean, Michigan State came in there and they had one of the worst in terms of getting sacks. One of the worst. Minnesota, they got a lot of pressures, but weren't completing sacks. And then both of those teams come out and they're able to just get sacks very, very easy, and we're not able to make adjustments.
And here's the other thing too. Maryland's not a good running team. And they rushed for last week, 140, 150?
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota has not. Well, we had our guest on, was it Tuesday?
Yeah.
Admittedly so. Minnesota's not a good running team.
No.
And they ran for 186 yards, and that's including the sack yardage. So it's really closer to 190.
Now, their running back is phenomenal, but
he's great.
They just haven't been able to execute their game plan and run the ball the way they've wanted to, or the way they've needed to, because of how the game script is played out, kind of like you mentioned.
They get behind the chains, and they did not do that tonight.
Exactly. What we needed to do today was to not let Minnesota get into Minnesota football. And as soon as you get down, they can go right into Minnesota football. And then that long drive, that was the epitome of Big Ten West Minnesota football right there.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me sucked all the life out of the team. That long 98-yard drive sucked all the life out of the team.
So my note on that, I think I posted on Twitter actually. In real time, it was 24 minutes in between Nebraska's first possession of the second half when they punted it and when they got the ball back after that drive.
Mm-hmm.
So that means your defense was on the field for, it was like 9 minutes of game clock, 24 minutes in real time. So we saw that, I believe it was the Michigan State game, right? Where they had that long drive that was like 30 minutes in real time.
It was like 17 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, same problem this week where your defense is on the field forever. Your offense comes back. They have no rhythm. The difference was against Michigan State, they got that rhythm back. Tonight, they never got in rhythm from the jump. I mean, their two scoring drives were 100% dependent on Dylan Raiola being Superman.
Yeah.
On both those possessions, he had 3 plays where he was running around for his life, making these acrobatic throws and acrobatic plays just to get you to move the ball. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for those plays, Nebraska isn't scoring. Nebraska, their yardage total was disgustingly embarrassing.
Yeah, it was bad.
Grossly incompetent tonight. 213 yards of offense. And I bet you half that was on your 2 scoring drives in the first quarter.
Oh, 100%.
First half.
100%. Because Dylan Raiola was at 100, a little over 100 yards passing, I think, like in the second quarter. And what did he finish with? He couldn't have finished up with over 200.
177.
Yeah, exactly. So that just shows you how the rest of that game went. Because that was that was part of the way into the second quarter. He had over 100 yards passing, I'm pretty sure at that point.
Yeah, 25 attempts. They probably had, 35 or 40 dropbacks, 10 sacks. I mean, this is a joke.
We also saw, again, a whole lot of the defense just playing off. And like early in the game, they were doing a good job of rallying to the football.
Yeah.
But as soon as that stopped, we should stop playing off, because then we were trying to rally to the football, but we weren't making the tackles. Eventually, the defense just got wore out. They started throwing arms, throwing shoulders, and the intensity that they had early in the game was gone, because early in the game they were rallying to the football, and that just went by the wayside in the second half. They were just literally throwing arms out there and could not make a tackle. They were just their running backs were just pushing us 5 yards. We could contact them line of scrimmage, or pushing us for 5 yards, and then
It
just
was
the little short passing game, like they were just tearing us apart. And that's what we were talking about early on with Raiola, when everybody's like, he's dinking and dunking down the field. Well, yeah, if it works, it works, dude.
yes.
I'm not going to knock it if it works. Like, they're moving the ball. That's what we need to do, is move the ball just in that same way.
My note on this for the first possession of Minnesota starts at on 2-yard line. Dink and dunk, and then rush for 5 yards. The defense is lost. The stats don't tell the truth about this D. The coverage is sagging off. The D is not that great. They're letting Minnesota run underneath all night long.
Yeah, I think there's some excellent players on this team, but there is some awful team defense at times, and it was awful throughout the 4 quarters of this game. And this is kind of what I was talking about week 2 and week 3, when I'm talking about the middle part of the game, right?
It's a disaster right
This
now.
is what happens, because eventually the game is going to get away from you. And I said we can't do that against good teams, because the game's going to get away from us. And I even consider Minnesota that good of a team, and it still got away from us.
Yeah, they're not a great team, but they're tough. They're always tough.
They play their brand of football. They don't deviate from that. They're physical. They don't turn the ball over. They don't get penalized a ton. They do what they do very well. And again, I knew that was going to come back to bite us in the ass. And everybody's like, why are you being negative after wins? It's not being negative after wins. It's pointing out the obvious, that quarters 2 and 3 matter. And we were starting good, kind of playing good way in the second quarter. But then the middle part of the game was just, there was nothing there. There was no, and both games, Michigan State and Maryland, both of those games, we came at the end, kind of turned it up. You can't rely on that to flip that switch every game. It's not going to happen. You have to come out and put yourself in a good position to run by getting, you get the lead, and then that way you can run your offense the way you want to run it. Don't let them dictate how you run your offense. And that's exactly what happened. As soon as you let them relinquish the lead, especially when you gave up that touchdown, they were in full control of everything they were doing on the offensive side of the ball, and we could not answer to save our life.